Hello and welcome to Being Naked. My name is Venus Castleberg and I am so happy to have Francesca. Welcome, Francesca.
Hi, Venus. Thank you so much for having me here today. And hi, everyone. Very grateful.
Yeah. So one of the ways that I like to start this is that just have everybody, let's just all take our deepest barriers down, even the ones we don't know about.
Do it.
And would you tell me, I'm curious, Francesca, I don't think I've ever asked anybody this, but what's that experience like for you to take your barriers down?
Look, it actually was very much when I discovered this tool about putting really put my barriers down was such a revelation and such a, one of the things that really make you free and make you feel finally. Because all life, like, oh, be aware of that person, or actually be afraid of that person because it will suck energy from you, or this situation. So you actually start building up all these little walls around you, right? And to be protected. But actually, it's nothing about being protected, by the way. It didn't work at all. And the amount of energy that it took for me to have them up all the time, that was going against my nature, my being. And then when I like read and hear and listen about how access consciousness was, talking about barriers and lower down your barriers, it's the first, I was like, oh my God, this is the bad things I could ever discover. And of course, then apart from that, then it involves so many other things, because when you put down your barriers, there are so many more possibilities opening up, from receiving everything, being more present, being more relaxed, don't need anymore to fight or to defend or to prove. Like, that's why, as I said at the beginning, it was such a relief for me. I was like, finally, I don't have any more to,
Yeah. And what would you say, like, do you feel like maybe you're more vulnerable with lockdown without walls and barriers? Or
Oh, well, absolutely. Because, okay, vulnerability, how I pronounce it, it's really like a little bit what we are going to talk today, right, Venus? But it embrace, like, all the things I say before about don't need to fight, being relaxed, being willing to and receive all the possibilities without a point of view. The possibilities have to be good or bad. Receive them all. I embrace in such a different way being vulnerable. Because come on, like, we know that when you put out the word being vulnerable, it seems that you are weak, right? Which is your vulnerable spot. You need to protect it. And that's another relief from access consciousness, and it's such a gift that vulnerability, it's really the opposite of what we thought it was, what they teach it was. Completely. For me, it's been such a gift, the way to allow myself to express everything that I was perceiving as well, like, I always remember when I was a kid and I was watching movie, and my mom always told me, that's an Italian expression, so might not make any sense in English, but to give you that you have tears in your pocket. Basically, every time your tears come out, I'm like, why not? And they come out for 3 minutes, whatever there is, and it's nothing that just if you have tears you're vulnerable. But that was for me, that was like, I was watching a movie, I was noticing something in someone else, and I got that receiving, right, of like a download of all in a different universe, and made me have tears. But there was nothing bad about it. It was just and I remember I started cutting out that a little bit, because it seems that I was weak. And actually was just probably a great capacity to perceive other things beside another thought, other things beside just myself or the area or the environment I was living. So
that's awesome. So did you make yourself wrong for being vulnerable, for having tears in your pocket?
Well, actually it made me so angry every time someone was telling me about it. Because I'm like, and the funny part that now you ask me, I cried more before knowing these tools than what I do now. There was just a matter of like, there was a fight there, like, oh, you tell me I can't, so look at that, you know? Or I was putting myself in some position that I had to cry to, or being that intensity, and just through the tears I could experience, or I could show to someone else what was possible probably. Now I don't cry as much. It's really funny because now I don't judge it anymore. Thank you for the question. Like, when you look, I'm like, I don't actually as much as at that time. I perceive in different I perceive differently, and I don't, the necessity of crying is no longer required, probably.
All right. I like that. So I'm wondering, how would you say now that you experience vulnerability? Like, what's it like in your universe?
How do I experience vulnerability? Is it mine? Should I put my iPod or no?
There's a little bit of feedback.
I'm sorry. Bad Frenchie. Give me a second. I'm thinking about it. Okay, it should go right away. Should be better. Do you hear me?
I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how do I experience vulnerability? It's more like, it's really like a part of me. It's something that I desire to have with me every moment of my life. And experience vulnerability for me now, it's so different. Like it's, Gary expressed, like Gary, the founder of Access Consciousness, right? That's the first time I actually hear talking about vulnerability in that way. That he say that it's like being an open wound, right?
Yeah.
And perceiving, like, when you have an open wound, you just like everything, and you perceive everything deeper in a way. That's for me. I could perceive everything deeper, but from, like, for instance, from the tweet of a bird to the wind that go through the trees, or touching, like touching my body, or meeting a little kid and, perceiving the being, or an animal, or another person. So it's in no different level. For me, it's really like I open up more to receive, like, without having a judgment of what is good to receive and what is not good to receive. When you were talking about the barriers before, because then when you have barriers, you judge already that something is not good for you. So you have to protect yourself. Right. But being fully vulnerable, when you are there, you don't require to protect yourself anymore, because you know when is the moment to take an action, or is the moment that you have, to change something. But it's nothing more. It's nothing. For me, it's no longer. It's no longer being on the defense. Yeah.
That's beautifully said. I wonder, like, what if you were to have, if somebody was to come to you and be like, well, what is vulnerability to you? Or maybe a tool, like, how did you learn to be more vulnerable?
Yeah, maybe a tool, like, first of all, like, if it seems a little bit strange to you guys, like, or as we mentioned before, that you're afraid to be vulnerable because you think you will be attacked, or it's people that are weak are vulnerable, and another amazing tools of access consciousness is really like everything is the opposite of where it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of where it appears to be. So just think about like, what if you break it up? Whatever vulnerability, I can't say it. So funny today. Whatever vulnerability it's for you, just say that. It's really, really simple. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be. Nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be. Nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be, for 10 times. And you pursue, like, it basically lights it up, all the points of view and definition that you might have, or someone else around you have. And then it's just like, it's really like, for me, when you have your show called Being Naked, right? And being naked, of course, like, it just, why should I be naked? I will be so vulnerable, right? Like, you could look at like in different aspects, even if you like, why should I show all myself? Then people can, will know my secret, or they know how to, attack me or doing something wrong against me. What if it's not true? Because for me, like, when you're no longer afraid about something, that thing will no longer control you. That's it. So for me, it's really like, what if it's just a matter of a muscle that you exercise every day. When you perceive that your barriers get up, and you are like, oh, and because when you put your barriers up, there is a sense of contraction that it's huge, right? And that's another exercise. Okay, wherever I perceive them contracting and defending, or like, just as Venus mentioned at the beginning, just ask for your barriers to go down, and ask to be, what would it take to be total vulnerability? And just asking that question, it's a new request that you are making. And I don't know how it will show up for you guys, because it shows up in a very different day to any of you. But try it out, like, and as I say, it's really like, for me, it's been open up to receiving so much more in my life. Receiving as well, like contribution and receiving as well from me, because no longer wasting all the energy to trying to be someone else or something else. Being vulnerable is also like being totally you. And that doesn't, how many times like we can have like strange moment of our life, or very delicate moment of our life, right? And how much I realized that if I am willing to be vulnerable with myself first, and in the same thing is like being vulnerable, like embracing as well, like the honesty with me, like being honest with me too, the other doesn't even matter anymore. It's not about the others. Like, no one can do anything to you if you don't allow them to. So it's some, I could hear, like, for instance, I could hear someone say, oh, that's just philosophical thoughts. Well, is it? Oh, it's really like, it's actually pretty pragmatical instead of being philosophical for me. The fact that being vulnerable and total honest with me, it's create no longer a charge, no longer that want to be right, things, and receiving more from everything and everyone. And of course, like, and probably I've been talking about this already, right? Venus. Vulnerability, like, it goes together with other 4 pieces. It's just, so when you be one, you be the other 4. So No
So she's talking
idea.
about the 5 elements of intimacy, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, which is honor, trust, vulnerability, allowance, and gratitude. So yes, they
Yeah.
all do go together. And
It's funny, like when you have one, it's just like, oh, it's all the other together. And yeah.
yeah. And I love what you said about just like, it's like letting go of control. It's almost like we think that holding on to like our walls and barriers or control or whatever is actually protecting us, and it's not what's protecting us. What protects us is our allowance and our vulnerability and our willingness to be exposed, which is why, I named this Being Naked, was like even inviting myself to be more exposed, like just like, okay, here I am, I'm gonna show up, good days,
Yeah.
bad days, whatever days, right? And so I'm wondering thank you for that, and I'm wondering if there was one thing that you'd really like people to get today about vulnerability, what would it be?
Okay. Thank you, because you mentioned about control, and I was like, that's true. You did read through the lines, and being one of the things about vulnerability too. It's vulnerability too. It's as well, like, you walk through. Like, you walk through the world, no matter where you live, no matter what the situation is, which age, what's your sex, and there are. I'm sure that there are things around you or daily that might be not all the time easy, but vulnerability for me, it's really like the capacity to melt all those not easy things around you, all the other worlds that you can come across during your day, right? Or in your relationships too, or in any area, because when you be vulnerability, and it's nothing about what do I do? Do I dress in a special way to be it's not about what you do. It's as we say before, it's really the request and the demand of you to be vulnerability. And when you be that, it's what truly, like, everything it's around you that wasn't working or was offending you or was difficult, start melting by magic. And in a way and the other, for me, I love kids and I love animals. It's just something that if I see a kid, it's just like I can't. Sometimes when I'm driving, I need to be aware, like, because in Australia where I live, there are so many animals, like dogs and stuff, and beautiful kids. So I need to be focused on the drive, otherwise I will stop. But why that? Because kids, if you look at them, they are really vulnerable, right? They really embrace totally and be totally that beautiful essence that they are. And animals are the same. They don't judge. And so I'm like, what if we could invite that energy in our life? That's something like, and someone could say, well, the kid are vulnerable, right? They can't defend themselves. Can they? I'm like, we guys have, one of the things I love about my 10 last year of my life, it's really what I came across, the access consciousness tools, but mainly that everything that showed up in my life, it's my creation. So it means that I have more capacity and I have more potency, and that what I thought. I don't need to defend myself anymore. And that's as well, like, embracing vulnerability. Like, you, as we say, like, you don't have to defend yourself anymore. And you say be naked. That's true. But in so many different, even if you don't do the access consciousness tools, right? If you don't be them, just like, what if 10 minutes a day, you actually look at the possibility to invite more I can say, you will only remember vulnerability in your life. And vulnerability is like, as well, like sometimes happen to me that I might be a bit mad, and I embrace that madness against that. Also with vulnerability too, like, okay, people, what's going on here, right? It's not about having the right things and we live in a cloud with wings and we just like sparkle and roll all around and we don't talk anymore. We are still living every day. So with our sensation, our things. So that's what I want to say. Like, be kind with you. Being vulnerable is also like, be kind with you in different aspects. So,
wow, that's really beautiful. So, yeah, start where you are. We just encourage you, like, play with it, try it on, see what being vulnerable for you might be like. And Francesca, this has been a beautiful conversation about vulnerability, and I absolutely adore you. Thank you for your.
I can't wait to see you.
I know, I can't wait. Very soon. Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you everyone for being here and for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for being you and creating all of that. Thank you.
Thank you.